Hi everybody and welcome to another Creative Corner. This is where I will be doing live a photo image build up, and you'll know it's live because you'll be hearing background noises, I'm sure, so you have to excuse us as we go through the live if you do hear those. Also, as we are live, you can drop in your comments, your questions or your thoughts as we go through it, and I will be able to respond to you. So firstly, just drop me a hello, tell me where you're joining from, and I'll be able to go through and make sure that we are receiving or coming to you without technical glitches. So if you haven't seen one of these before, let me just explain what happens is I just build an image from the ground up with you. And today I have a background already in place, and it's my blue background with a piece of slate on underneath. Now, today's image is going to be super simple. I'm going to be building up the Ukrainian flag. I think we all have seen news right now, and we're all feeling it. And as artists and as anybody, I think we're all feeling it around the world. But I've talked about inspiration and how to get inspiration as an artist and how that comes to you using photos, other people's inspiration, pictures, and today it's going to be world events, and that's how this one event is affecting us or can inspire us to create some art. So that's exactly what I'm going to be doing here. So I'm just going to jump straight in. I'm going to show you straight down here, I put my iPad down here, that I have picked up some yellow roses, and I'm going to be using these today against the blue background. So obviously that will be very symbiotic of the Ukrainian flag of yellow and blue. So first thing I'm going to do is probably just to set in the first flower. Let me put the first flower in. I'm going to cut that down. And these roses have not opened, so I'm going to have to help them out a little bit. I'm just going to cut the rose. So if I pop him in, he's still a little bit big for this, so I'm going to, bearing in mind I'm probably going to have half the image blue, half yellow, so probably this is way too short now, but we'll see how it goes. Okay, so we'll pop him in there, and I'm just going to press on the floor rather than on my set so that doesn't. Okay, so I've got a manual lens on the camera, so I'm just going to make sure I'm in focus there and just bring that in focus. I'll change that in a bit. So these roses, because they've not opened, I am going to have to help them open just a little bit, and hopefully I can just force the flower heads open just a little bit. So what I'm going to do is have half the image blue and half the bottom half made up of the yellow roses, and I'm going to see. I will probably open that up a lot more as we go. I know that will also need to be just tipped down just a little bit as well. So we'll come back to these as we go. Let me just take off some more. So let me add another one in. I'm going to cut off roughly the same amount of that one. So I'm also going to take off some of these petals, the outside ones, and I will use those to perhaps hide the stems. So the bottom half of the image will be completely yellow. And I'll cover the stems up with its petals, I think. So that's the idea. Let me just open up some of the leaves here, some of its petals. So I know this is a little bit of faff to try and get these open. I might have to. Let's see. How they're doing. So, forcing the petals open like this isn't exactly optimal, but because these, I had these a couple of days ago and they haven't opened all yet, so I'm gonna just push them out a little bit. So, with this one again, I'm gonna put that on a stem base. Now these little stem bases are from Amazon and they're just flower frogs and they help support the flowers on your set. So I'm going to put him just behind that one, and again I'm definitely going to have to just tease out the petals a little bit, and I should imagine that what I might do is just lift and tilt my camera down just a little bit so that I get inside the flower heads as we go. And again, this one will definitely need to be opened out a little bit more. Let me just persuade the petals. I'm just running my fingers on the inside of the rose heads here to try and tease the petals open. So here we go. And by doing so, we reveal the inside. Again, I'm just, oh, too much. So that was me just breaking the head off. So I'm going to pin it with a flower pin. Let me just go to my supply box. So I have these little pins here, and I'm just going to rescue that back in the way I want it. So I'm going to do so by putting the pin into the rose stem there and just pinning it back to the stem there. Now I suspect that that may need a stronger pin, but we'll see how we go for now. Yes, okay. Oh, oh, you know, some days are very easy and other days are a little bit harder, but I suspect that's also a sign of how we're all feeling right now. So let me just get that pin is very narrow because it's one of my butterfly styling pins, so I'm just going to try a stronger pin. Now, so all of these things, really, as a photographer, the thing that you're trying to do is to style the image in the way that you want it, not necessarily the way the flowers want it, and that's okay. It's just sometimes it will take a little bit more effort, and I suspect I'm going to also need something there to just stick the base to the slab. So I'm going to use some green floral goop. See, when things go right and they're all very easy, I don't get to show you these crazy methods of sticking everything in. So let me just try that again. There we go. It's still not 100%. Nope, it's definitely not 100%. Okay, I'm going to come back to you. I suspect I might use, instead of the small base here, let me just take it out the small base and put it in a bigger base. What it doesn't know is that I'm very stubborn, and so it will do what I want. It just doesn't know that yet. There we go. Okay, and your head needs to be just a little bit more upwards. And I'm going to see if I can help that with another pin. See, I will just see if I can take out the pins that aren't working and then just put the thicker pin in, and hopefully encourage it to stand at the angle that I want it to. Of course, that's probably going to slip as we build the image, so I'm going to have to keep an eye on that as we go. That's okay. And this one here, okay, so we'll just perhaps come in a little bit forward and perhaps a little bit up and down. I'll probably just change the angle of the camera as we go, just to get into the petals. So this is where the petals will probably come in handy here, just to cover the base and to make sure that the bottom of the image has completely covered in yellow as we want it. So we'll build that up. I may have to come in just a tiny bit more, and we'll keep working on that as we go, just making sure I'm also in focus. Okay, so the next rose, let's see what mischief you're going to create for me. So I'm also aware that the bigger I can make the rose head itself, the less I'm going to have to cover that background. So I'm just going to force the petals open a little bit more this time. There's a few that are just a little off colour, so I'm taking those out so that we just get a full yellow head. So I thought this would be a super simple image. Instead, these roses are fighting me. But that's okay. It's showing you that sometimes images are not, even the simple ones, sometimes a little bit more complicated than we want them to be. Well, it was a simple concept, that's for sure, but here we go, just opening that out. So that one there, again, I'm aware that I could make the same mistake if I'm not careful and break the heads off, but let me just push that one onto. Okay, so we're building that one up. Okay, not really, at the moment I'm trying to build them out. Let me just put you back in focus. There we go. So this one, some of its petals are a bit brown inside, so I'm having to pull those out as they go. Let me just put that one in there. Okay. They are fighting me today. Okay, there we go. So let's just pull that one round. Okay, so all of these petals that have fallen off are going, and the ones that I've pulled out are going to make up that base. So you can already see here kind of how that's going to go. I will start dealing with those in just a second. So let me add in another couple. So I'm just going to cut them all to the same width down. And open them out, which is the part that's taking just the little bit of coaxing today. And I think I'm going to need all of my 5 roses to do this, to make sure that the image is filled. So I have a few little roses as well that may go in the back. So let's just see if that might go a little bit lower. As I was undoing the petals there, it was starting to just come away entirely. So if I continue with that one, it may just completely disintegrate. So I'm trying to make sure that it doesn't. There we go. Just pop him in there. So far, so that's a good 1, 2, 3. I think we just need one more here on this side. Let me just, again, I'm just gonna see if I can tease out the petals as much as I can, making it a little bit larger than the closed rose. So I'm just blowing gently into the rose to try and tease the petals open, not just the ones that I'm unraveling, but also the ones that are firmly shut inside. A little bit of warm air blowing inside helps just tease them out. So let's, okay, so again I'm going to just try and place that one into my flower frog and place him on the end. Actually, I might need a stronger base for that rather than a small one. I could tell because the base was being a little bit unstable as I had placed it down, so I've just put it on a bigger one for now. I'd rather keep them all a little bit in level. I was hoping by pulling him back that I would be able to do that, but I think I'm going to actually have to cut the stem down just a tiny bit more. So let's do that. Pop him back on the flower frog. So let's just face him in a little bit more into, okay, there we go. And if I just pull down on the flowers I've You can see there that I've teased out the petals in a way that they are almost falling into the image, and I will use that in a second as a way of explaining the petals underneath it. So far this is really good. Let me just pull out that one so that it goes yellow and yellow. I'm looking at this little gap here and I'm hoping to just fill it a little bit more so that it doesn't look, there's no gap in the image there. So he may have to go a little bit behind or a little bit in front. Let me just check. There we go. This is a little bit of composition tweaking, but we'll get there. Okay, so I really like how this is building up now. Again, I said that I'd pulled out quite a lot of the yellows, so they will be used not only to cover up the bases here, but I will also use them to kind of cover up the stems as well. Let me show you very quickly on that back one there. The gap that I would cover up would look something like this. So I'll use my Green Florist goop on the back of my petal just to come in and there we go, tease the petal and stick it to the stem so that that gap on the stem itself, the green, would disappear. So the idea would be that you don't see any green, you only see the yellows. And I have one rose left, so I will probably use that just because of the petals and use the petals of them as a way of coming down. So let me show you how that will look. Let me just take a few petals off here. Oh. So I'm just pulling them out gently, so pushing down as they're coming out, so that way I get the full petal rather than just ripping the whole thing off. I get full complete petals. So there we go. Let me just put you back in there. So taking my Green Florist goop, I'll then stick the yellow petals to the stems so they cover up, but they're also a way of cascading down the image so that they will in a falling way. So let me show you a few more how that would be built up. So, and of course this side as well. Just sticking them to the stem, and perhaps even this one's even more curled in, so it would be a there we go. So turning that way. So you get the idea, and you build up and you build up so that these all look as if they are cascading down the roses and fill up all of the space. And the background here you can see is still coming through a little bit. So what we might do is see what we can do about that. I have some smaller roses. So we may see if the small roses can help being filled into those gaps a little bit. So let's just take one of these, and I love the shapes that these petals make as well. They're so pretty. Okay, so towards the camera that way. And I probably will fiddle with these a little bit more, but I won't do it on the live so that you're not bored watching me just fiddle with the petals, getting them exactly where I want them, but you get the idea that I'm just using them to fill in. Oh, that one's not a good petal. So I'm using them to fill in the gaps, essentially, of the background. So we would build this up so that you don't see anything in the background. So I have a few little yellow roses. Now they haven't done so well, so what we may do, let me see about taking some of these and using them, or using the petals of them in the front. So so there's a big gap here and one here. So let me see if perhaps I can just pop that on a stem. Perhaps another one. And nope, that needed to be cut a little bit lower. You'll see what I mean, because I'm going to pop them in the gap back there. So it needs to be a little bit smaller. Let me just chop off some height and then pop him into the gap. So that's where he will live. Oh, perhaps even lower actually for that one. Let me just a little bit lower. Yeah, okay, perfect. So that's where he will live. And again, I can cover the bases better with the fallen petals if needed. I can just use my goop to keep them in the place that I want them to be set. So we can do that. And bring that one in. So then this place here will also need a little one. You can, and we're live because we can hear all of the motorbikes outside, so I do apologise for that. Okay. So that one will then go into this space. Push him forwards. And perhaps we will give him more of a room. So we'll pop the petal that we had stuck on the stem just a tiny bit higher, so he gets a little bit of visibility there. It's just perhaps, there we go. And if we want the, oh, you back there, you were supposed to stand up. There we go. And we'll pop you in there. So this is where I spend the time just covering the stems with petals, propping the petals on the base just perhaps in the way that they need to, and sticking them to the stem if they aren't going to cooperate, so that they stay in exactly the right places for us. So I think now's probably a good time to check if there were any questions coming in. No, we're good? Okay. So let me just pop that one in there. And there we go. So I will continue to build this image in this way to make sure that all of the gaps are covered up as we go. And again, just popping leaves in, petals in, rather, not leaves. Some of them are definitely not cooperating right now, but they will do very soon. I love how these two are kind of curled in together. Let's see if we can prop that one, those two up in that way. There we go. And we could do with a few more of these tiny ones, like the one perhaps coming in here, a little bit lower. So again, just chop it to the right size and take off some of, open the outer side leaf and pop him into a little flower frog. See if he will live just in the window of the frame. There we go, and I can then push that petal up and just cover the gap quite nicely. If I can again use some sticky floral tape in. So right now you can see where all of this is going. You know that this is probably just a little bit of tweaking here and there, and I will probably get another rose, smaller rose perhaps in there. Let me just check if that, oh, right. That's me trying to move too quickly and losing the place. Let me see. There's somewhere around there, I hope. Let me see if I can push it all back in. Oh, okay. Not everything is lost there. Oof, that was close. Okay. Just open that petal out. And this little fella was gonna live behind here. And that was way too high, I think. So we need to make him a lot shorter. So again, just popping him into place here. As he pokes through, we might need a few more covering ones over here. But now you get the idea of pretty much where I'm going with this. So we will keep going and keep fiddling with this until it's right. So let me just put one more in, and then I will perhaps call it where we are. Let me just see if we can, where are we? I'm not sure that I've got a tall one for this gap, but let's I might have. Let's see if this one will fit in. We have one left. So we're going to pop him on the flower frog, and then, no, he's not tall enough. Okay, so I would need to find something that would just prop him up. Let's see if I've got this glass, and that's going to be too tall, but let's see. This one might be too tall, but I may be able to lean him in. So let's have a look about whether or not I can cheat this by leaning him in just a tiny bit. That's still going to be too tall, but let's see how far out I am. Not that far, I think. It's really a case of getting the right heights. And I'm just finding things that may be able to be the right height. Let's see. So this one might work if I just take a few centimeters off it. How's that looking? Almost, she says, with perhaps another centimeter or two. Ooh, I'm trying to slot it back onto the... Okay, so there we go. That will fit in there. Okay, so that's pretty much, I think if I leave it there, the things that I would do to this image now is to put some water on it. But if I spritz this, some of these that are already a little bit unbalanced will probably fall over. So instead of spritzing, what I will do is take my little tapette here and probably just add in a few water droplets into some places onto the petals where they will hold them, hopefully. Let's just see where else might work, perhaps here as well. Just very gently pop in one or two. That might run off there. And I will go through the whole of the image in that way, putting water droplets just here and there rather than spraying the whole of the image for now. And what I'll do, I'll keep working on this. Let me just stand up. So I will keep working on this image just to fill out the yellow spaces and make sure that the background of the blue is completely covered with the yellow flowers so that we have that blue and then yellow underneath. So I hope that you've enjoyed following along with this today. And if you've got any questions, please feel free to drop them in the comments. Even when we aren't live, I do come back and I do answer them. And I'm very much grateful to all of you who are joining us either now in the live or later on. So thank you very much.